It all started on a quiet Tuesday morning in late October. I was sipping my black coffee on the porch of my mountain cabin in Pine Ridge Estates, a little HOA-governed community nestled in the Colorado Rockies. The air was crisp, the leaves were turning gold, and life felt peaceful. I had bought this place 3 years ago for $320,000 with a 15-year fixed mortgage at 3.8%. A smart long-term investment I refinanced last year, when rates dipped to 2.9%, saving me over $12,000 in interest over the life of the loan. I wasn't just buying a cabin. I was building equity, diversifying my real estate portfolio, and creating a future passive income stream through Airbnb rentals, which brought in an average of $3,200 per month during peak season. But that peace shattered when I opened my mailbox and found a notice of foreclosure auction for EMI property. I dropped my mug. It shattered on the wooden deck, coffee splattering like a bad omen. What? What? I shouted into the empty woods. The letter, stamped with the official seal of the Pine Ridge Homeowners Association, stated that my cabin, parcel hash PR 71742, was scheduled to be sold at public auction in 30 days due to unpaid assessments totaling $18,450.72. Though I claimed I was delinquent on dues, late fees, legal charges, and something called a special assessment for road repaving. None of it made sense. I had HOAs paid on time. In fact, I set up automatic payments from my high-yield savings account, the same one I used to build my emergency fund. Currently holding over $45,000 at 4.8% APY. I even had a spreadsheet tracking every transaction. Monthly HOA dues of $395, paid every first without fail since 2021. I called the HOA management office immediately. A robotic voice told me to press 1 for billing, 2 for violations, 3 for legal notices. I pressed 1. After 22 minutes on hold and 3 different transfers, I finally reached Brenda, a woman with the enthusiasm of a tax auditor on a Monday morning. "Yes, Mr. Thompson," she said, reading from a script. "Your account is in arrears. Total balance due, $18,450.72. Failure to pay in full within 30 days will result in foreclosure and public auction of the property." "But I've paid every month," I said, my voice rising. "Check your records. I have bank statements, receipts, everything. Our records show no payments since Q3 of 22, she replied coldly. "The system reflects a payment processing error. Unfortunately, that doesn't waive the debt or the penalties." Key processing error. That's your excuse? You lost 2 years of payments, and now you're trying to sell my house? The board made the decision, she said. You can appeal at the next meeting, next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Bring documentation. I hung up, heart pounding. This wasn't just a clerical mistake. This was a potential EJ financial catastrophe. I rushed inside, pulled up my online banking, and exported 2 years' worth of transaction history. Every single HOA payment, $395 on the first of each month, was clearly marked Pine Ridge HOA, autopay. I had even set up alerts to notify me if a payment failed. Not one had ever triggered. I checked my credit report through my free annual access. Everything looked clean, no collections, no liens. But now, if they foreclosed, it would destroy my credit score overnight, dropping it from 782 to possibly below 600. That would tank my ability to get future loans, increase my insurance premiums, and even affect job opportunities in finance. I immediately called my mortgage lender to see if they had been notified. Thankfully, no. The HOA hadn't filed a lien with the county yet, but the auction notice was already public record. I realized I had to act fast. I pulled up my budget. $45 in emergency savings, $220 home equity, and a solid 782 credit score. But none of that mattered if I lost the title to my property. I needed legal help. I called my real estate attorney, Susan Langford, who specializes in HOA disputes and property law. She answered on the second ring. "Foreclosure over unpaid dues. That's aggressive, especially with no lien history. but HOAs can foreclose in many states even without a mortgage-level lien, if the bylaws allow it. You need to file a notice of dispute and demand validation of the debt, like a credit dispute, but for property. She advised me to send a certified letter disputing the debt under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, FDCPA, and State Property Code. Also, she added, check your title insurance. If this leads to a wrongful sale, your policy might cover legal fees and lost equity. That afternoon, I visited the county recorder's office. I paid a $15 fee to pull the official title report. My name was still on the deed. Good. But a red flag, a notice of delinquency filed by the HOA 45 days ago. It wasn't a formal lien, but it was enough to cloud the title and trigger the foreclosure process under Colorado Revised Statutes 5833.316. I also discovered the special assessment, $12,000, was approved in a closed-door meeting with only 3 board members present, violating quorum rules. That could be grounds to invalidate the debt. I scanned every document, bank statements, autopay confirmations, tax records showing I paid property taxes directly, and even my refinancing paperwork from when I lowered my mortgage rate last year. I saved everything into a folder labeled HOA War Room on my encrypted drive. I also reached out to my financial advisor to assess the worst-case scenario. If I lost the cabin, how would it impact my net worth, tax liabilities, and retirement portfolio? He ran the numbers. A $380 asset, current market value, gone. $220 in lost equity, and a massive hit to my credit. Plus, if the sale didn't cover the debt, I could be sued for the deficiency, turning this into a personal financial disaster. By Friday, I drafted my formal dispute letter, citing FDCPA, state law, and procedural violations in the special assessment. I sent it via certified mail, return receipt requested. I also filed a complaint with the Colorado Division of Real Estate and requested an emergency injunction to halt the auction. Meanwhile, I posted a short video on my YouTube channel explaining what was happening, not just for support, but to document the timeline. Within 48 hours, it had 200K views. People were furious. "This is why you never trust an HOA," one comment said. "Check your title insurance now," said another. A financial planner in the comments suggested I contact my homeowner's insurance to see if legal defense was covered. I did. And yes, my policy included up to $25,000 in legal fees for property defense. I submitted a claim that day. I also reached out to a credit monitoring service to set up fraud alerts and credit freeze protection, because if my identity was compromised, this could be worse than a clerical error. By Sunday night, I had had a full strategy: legal action, media pressure, financial safeguards, and public documentation. The HOA had no idea what was coming. I wasn't just fighting for my cabin. I was fighting for my credit, my equity, and my financial future. The night before the HOA board meeting, I barely slept. I rehearsed my speech, organized my evidence binder, and double-checked that my body camera was charged. This wasn't just a dispute. It was a battlefield. The Pine Ridge Community Center was packed when I arrived at 6:45 p.m. Over 60 residents showed up, many holding phones, some live streaming. Word had spread fast. I wasn't the only one with HOA horror stories. As I walked in, I saw the board president, Charles Whitmore, whispering with the property manager. He didn't look happy. At 7 p.m. sharp, the meeting began. I was third on the agenda. Owner dispute, parcel PR 71742. I stood up, turned on my camera, and calmly said, "I'm here to dispute the foreclosure notice on my property due to alleged unpaid assessments totaling $18,450.72. I have proof that I paid every monthly dues on time since 2021. I also have evidence that the special assessment was approved illegally without proper quorum and was never properly disclosed to owner." I handed each board member a copy of my 40-page evidence packet. Bank statements, autopay logs, title report, legal citations, and even a letter from my mortgage lender confirming no delinquency. The room went silent. Charles cleared his throat. "Mr. Thompson, The system shows no record of your payments. We can't accept screenshots or personal records as valid proof." I smiled. "Then you're saying your accounting system, which you pay $8,000 a year to maintain, is infallible, but my bank, which is FDIC insured and audited quarterly, is not? I have transaction IDs, timestamps, and routing numbers. Would you like me to call my bank's fraud department to verify live?" A murmur spread through the crowd. One woman shouted, "They did the same thing to my cousin in Arizona." I continued, "Under Colorado law, a homeowner has the right to dispute assessments and demand validation. I've already filed a formal dispute with certified mail. I've also filed for a temporary restraining order to stop the auction. If you proceed, you'll be violating state law and exposing the HOA to liability for wrongful foreclosure, which could trigger a class action suit. And yes, that would be covered under your insurance. But your premiums..." That hit a nerve. The treasurer flipped through my documents, frowning. "We'll need to review this," he muttered. The board voted to table the matter. A win for now. But I knew this wasn't over. 2 days later, my attorney filed a motion for a preliminary injunction in county court. We argued that the HOA failed to follow statutory procedures, violated fiduciary duties, and created a cloud on my title without due process. The judge set a hearing for 2 weeks out. In the meantime, I dug deeper into the HOA's finances. I submitted a formal records request under Colorado's Common Interest Ownership Act, COAA, demanding access to bank statements, meeting minutes, and audit reports. What I found was shocking. The HOA's checking account had bounced 3 times in the last year. The special assessment funds, $120,000 total, were missing from the reserve account. And the property manager, a company called Summit HOA Solutions, had billed the association $78,000 in administrative fees over 2 years, nearly double the industry average. I also discovered that Charles Whitmore's brother owned the construction company that was hired for the road repaving, a clear conflict of interest. This wasn't just incompetence. This was financial mismanagement, possibly fraud. I took my findings to a forensic accountant who helped me trace the missing funds. We found that $67,000 had been transferred to an LLC with the same address as the property manager's office. Suspicious? Absolutely. I filed a report with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit and the Colorado Attorney General's office. I also contacted a local news station. Their investigative team picked up the story, and within days, a segment aired titled, "HOA Foreclosure Scandal. Homeowner Fights Back Amid Alleged Embezzlement." The video went viral. My channel exploded, from 12K to over 200K subscribers in a week. Advertisers started noticing. I began seeing high RPM finance ads. "Refinance your mortgage at 2.9%. Check your credit score for free. How to build home equity fast. Get pre-approved for a home equity line of credit." Exactly what I needed. My RPM jumped from $8 to $24. But more importantly, public pressure was mounting. 2 board members resigned. The property manager suspended operations, and the auction was officially canceled. But the legal fight wasn't over. The judge ruled in my favor, granting the injunction and ordering the HOA to remove the delinquency notice from public record. He also mandated an independent audit of the HOA's finances. I used the momentum to launch a campaign. Protect your property, protect your finances. I started releasing weekly videos on topics like how to audit your HOA, title insurance, what it covers and what it doesn't, using credit monitoring to prevent financial fraud, and how to refinance when rates drop. I partnered with a mortgage broker who offered my viewers a free rate, quote, an affiliate deal that brought in passive income. I also created a downloadable HOA defense kit, a PDF with templates for dispute letters, records requests, and legal motions. Sold for $19.99. It became a bestseller. I wasn't just saving my cabin. I was building a financial education brand. The independent audit results came back 3 weeks later, and they were devastating. The forensic auditor found that over $210,000 in HOA funds had been misappropriated over the past 3 years. The special assessment money? Diverted to a shell company. The administrative fees? Inflated and split between the property manager and 2 board members. Charles Whitmore had personally approved payments to his brother's construction firm without competitive bidding, a direct violation of HOA laws and state law. The county launched a criminal investigation. Charles was arrested on charges of theft, fraud, and filing false documents. The property manager's license was suspended, and the HOA was placed under temporary receivership by the court. I felt vindicated, but also sickened. This wasn't just about me. Dozens of homeowners had been overcharged, threatened with liens, or forced into settlements. I organized a class action meeting. Over 80 owners showed up. I shared my evidence, my legal strategy, and my financial recovery plan. We hired a civil attorney on contingency. Our goal: recover stolen funds, force leadership reform, and implement transparent financial controls. As the face of the movement, I started getting media invites, local news, national podcasts, even a segment on the Money Pit. I used every appearance to talk about financial literacy. This could happen to anyone, I'd say. That's why you need an emergency fund, why you should monitor your credit, and why you should always keep proof of payments. I explained how my high-yield savings account didn't just earn interest, it saved me. Because I had the cash to pay for legal fees up front, I avoided predatory HOA defenses loans with 24% interest. I talked about how refinancing my mortgage gave me breathing room in my budget. I even broke down how title insurance and homeowners insurance worked, and why they're not just for disasters, but for financial protection against fraud and legal errors. My YouTube channel became a hub for financial empowerment. I started seeing even more lucrative ads: get a personal loan in minutes, invest in real estate with 5% down, how to fix your credit in 30 days, open a high-yield savings account with no fees. My RPM was now averaging $30. Some videos hit $45. Meanwhile, the civil suit progressed. We demanded the return of misused funds, punitive damages, and the implementation of a new financial oversight committee. The court-appointed receiver froze all HOA accounts and began reimbursing wrongfully charged homeowners. I received a check for $18,450.72, the exact amount they tried to collect from me. I didn't keep it. I donated it to a local legal aid fund for homeowners facing HOA abuse. But the financial recovery wasn't just about refunds. The value of my cabin had increased to $410,000 due to market trends and the removal of the title cloud. I now had over $250,000 in equity. I considered a cash-out refinance to invest in another property, a duplex in Denver, but decided to wait. Instead, I opened a home equity line of credit, HELOC, as a low-interest emergency backup. I also updated my estate plan, adding a transfer on death deed to protect my heirs from probate. Every financial decision I made was now informed by what I'd been through. I also started teaching others. I hosted free webinars: how to protect your home equity, 4 red flags every owner should know, and building a financial safety net for unexpected crises. I partnered with a credit repair company to offer my audience a discounted credit analysis, another revenue stream. I even launched a Patreon with tiers: $5 for early video access, $15 for monthly finance tips, $50 for a personal Q&A. It was overwhelming, in the best way. I had turned a nightmare into a mission. But the most powerful moment came at the final HOA election. I didn't run for the board. I didn't want power. But I helped train a slate of transparent, financially literate candidates. They won every seat. The new board implemented online budget dashboards, mandatory audits, and automated payment verification. For the first time in years, homeowners felt safe. Still, I remained cautious. I set up Google alerts for my name, property address, and HO name. I renewed my credit freeze annually. I kept 6 months of expenses in liquid savings, and I reviewed my insurance policies every 6 months. Because I learned the hard way, financial security isn't just about earning more. It's about protecting what you have. With the legal battle behind me, I shifted focus to rebuilding not just my peace of mind, but my financial future. I refinanced my cabin again, this time pulling out $50,000 in equity at a 5.2% fixed rate to invest in a rental property in Austin, Texas. I chose Austin because of its strong tenant demand, low property taxes, and growing job market. I used a cash flow calculator to project returns. After mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance, I'd net about $900 a month, a 7.8% annual ROI. I managed it remotely through a property management app, syncing it with my budgeting software. Every dollar earned went into a separate investment account, diversified across index funds and REITs. I was no longer just a homeowner. I was a real estate investor, and I wanted others to be too. I launched a new series on my channel, From Ho Victim to Real Estate Investor. I had documented every step: finding the property, securing the mortgage pre-approval, running credit checks on tenants, setting up LCAs for liability protection, and maximizing tax deductions. I explained how depreciation could offset rental income, how in 1031 exchanges could defer capital gains, and why having multiple income streams was key to financial freedom. The videos were packed with finance keywords: mortgage rates, credit score, down payment, cash flow, property management, tax write-offs, net worth, passive income. The algorithm loved it. My watch time increased. My RPM climbed to $35 on some videos. Advertisers were targeting me hard. Get pre-approved for a mortgage today. Invest in real estate with no money down. Boost your credit score by 100 points. I also started offering financial coaching. For $297, I provided a 90-minute consultation, reviewing budgets, credit reports, investment plans, and HOA risks. I used screen sharing to walk people through their finances. One client discovered her HOA had been overcharging her for 5 years. Another realized she could refinance and save $200 a month. I felt like I was making a real difference. I reinvested my profits into better equipment, a dedicated editor, and a website with a blog, courses, and a newsletter. The newsletter became a gold mine. 50,000 subscribers in 6 months. I monetized it with affiliate links to financial tools, credit monitoring services, budgeting apps, mortgage comparison sites, and high-yield savings accounts. Every recommendation was genuine. I only promoted what I used. But I never forgot the core message: protect your property, protect your finances. I partnered with a title insurance company to offer my viewers a discount on policies. I created a free checklist: 10 financial documents every homeowner must keep. I even testified before a state housing committee, advocating for stronger HOA regulations and mandatory financial transparency. My story was featured in Kiplinger's Personal Finances and the Wall Street Journal. I was no longer just a YouTuber. I was a financial advocate. And through it all, my cabin remained my sanctuary. I upgraded the security system, added solar panels to reduce utility costs, and built a tiny guest house to increase rental income. I tracked every expense in my net worth spreadsheet. My net worth had grown by $320,000 in 2 years, not from luck, but from discipline, education, and resilience. I wasn't just surviving. I was thriving. Today, 3 years after that fateful foreclosure notice, I stand on the porch of my cabin with a sense of peace and purpose. The HOA is now one of the most transparent in the state. Homeowners receive monthly financial reports, attend open budget meetings, and vote on all major expenses. My channel has over 850,000 subscribers. I've helped thousands of people protect their homes, improve their credit, and build wealth. I've written a book, Oh Hell to Financial Freedom: How I Saved My Home and Built a Fortune. It's a bestseller on Amazon. But more than the numbers, I've created a community. People DM me every day: "You saved my home. I refinanced because of you. I checked my title and found a fraud." That's the real win. I've also learned the deeper truth. Financial security isn't just about money. It's about control. When the HOA tried to take my cabin, they weren't just threatening my property. They were threatening my autonomy, my future, my dignity. But because I had good credit, emergency savings, insurance, and knowledge, I fought back. I want everyone to have that power. That's why I keep creating content. That's why I push for reform. That's why I say, monitor your credit, keep your records, understand your rights, and never assume your home is safe just because you pay your dues. If you're watching this and your HOA is acting shady, here's what to do. First, check your payment history. Second, pull your title report. Third, demand financial records. Fourth, contact a real estate attorney. Fifth, document everything. And sixth, build your financial foundation on and off. Open a high-yield savings account. Check your credit score monthly. Refinance when rates drop. Invest in insurance. Create multiple income streams. Because the next crisis might not be an HOA. It could be a job loss, a medical bill, or a market crash. But if you're prepared, you'll survive. And maybe even thrive. My cabin is more than a property. It's a symbol of resilience, of financial literacy, of the power of one person to stand up and say, no, not my home, not my money, not my future. And if you take one thing from my story, let it be this. Protect your property, protect your finances, and never stop fighting for what's yours. Because in the end, your home isn't just an asset. It's your freedom.